Hi everyone, welcome to Code Snippets. This is Supratik this side, and I hope you all are doing good. So, as we discussed in the last lecture, in this lecture we are going to start with the JavaScript tutorial. So, before we go deep into this JavaScript tutorial, let's just have a recall of what needs to be there in an environment. You need to have the Node.js package installed in your system. You can check the links in the previous videos comment section. You need to have an ID of your own choice. Personally, I will prefer that you go with Visual Studio Code because it has a wide range of support. If you are using the Visual Studio Code, there are some extensions that I would like you to install. One is this JavaScript and TypeScript nightly extension. This is something that I use. I find it very helpful because it actually uh, first of all your it will sometimes complete your functions. It will give you auto recommendations, which is very useful. And there is something called as live server. So what the live server will basically do is so, what the live server will basically do is it will help you to launch your JavaScript program directly from I think I have some. I'll show which one to install. You can search. My internet is having some problem, I guess. Yeah, so this is a live server. You can also install this and enable this. This will help you to launch your JavaScript program directly from your VS Code. Yeah, that's it. I think if you configure this one or two small things, it will be very helpful for you as you keep on developing. So let's start with the course. So the first thing that we will do is write a hello world program. So you can go to the browser and you can go to the developers tool. You can basically do an inspect or you can do an F12, and then you can come to this console. So this is basically the console. This entire thing is a developers tool. Here you will see a lot of options and you need to pick the console. So this console is like this is like a whiteboard for the browser. इस पे आप कुछ भी print करवा सकते हो. Okay, you can print anything here. So it's basically an API that the browser provides to us, console. Okay, so if you do a console dot log, so log is a method that is provided by the console, and then here you can pass a parameter, any parameter, and whatever you pass it will be printed. So if you say I did a console dot log hello world, and hello world is printed. ये जो this error is something because of the screen that I am opened, something कुछ गलत आया, but has nothing to do with this. So if I again do a console dot log, sorry, hi, how are you, it will print hi, how are you. So ये basically print statement है. This is a print statement, and this is how we will use this statement to print anything in the console in our JavaScript. आपको if you want to debug something, if you are working on your code and you're not understanding where exactly is a problem lying in your code, you can use this console log statements to print whatever you want to print. uh, so let's talk about in this lecture we'll mainly talk about the data types in JavaScript. But before talking about the data types in JavaScript, let's understand how JavaScript handles typing. तो लैंग्वेज ना इतने सारा लैंग्वेज है. अगर इफ यू कैटेगराइज देम तो ना दो तरीके के लैंग्वेज होते हैं. एक आपका होता है स्टैटिक टाइप लैंग्वेज. ठीक है, मैं अगर आपको थोड़ा लिख के दिखाऊं, एक होता है आपका स्टैटिक टाइप लैंग्वेज. ठीक है, और एक होता है आपका डायनेमिक टाइप लैंग्वेज. तो स्टैटिक टाइप लैंग्वेज में क्या होता है कि when we are writing the code basically, मतलब basically at compile time only we are saying कि what kind of value, what type of value the variable will hold. For example, when we are writing code in C and Java, we define variables as int a, int b, float a, float b. So what we're basically saying ki the variable a needs to have a value which is of type integer. It cannot be even of type float. If you are declaring a variable as int a equals int a, and then in the next line you're writing a equals to 2.5 or a equals to abc, it won't work because those languages are statically typed. आपने कंपाइल टाइम पे डिक्लेयर कर दिया कि ए में इंटीजर वैल्यू होना चाहिए. जावास्क्रिप्ट डजंट वर्क दैट वे. जावास्क्रिप्ट में यू कैन डिक्लेयर वैल्यूज इन थ्री वेज. द वेरिएबल्स आर डिक्लेयर्ड इन थ्री वेज बेसिकली. यू कैन यूज अ var a, या तो आप var कीवर्ड यूज कर लो, और यू कैन यूज अ let a, or you can use a const a. Abhi, what are the difference between var, let and const, that we will talk about later, but these are the three ways in which you can declare variables in JavaScript. So in any of these three ways, we have not declared what type A is. We have just declared a variable. Now we can do something as var a equals to 2, and then in the next line we can do a equals to abc, and JavaScript will have no problem with that. So like if I go to the console and if I do something as var a equals to 2, and if I do console.log a, तो it gave me 2 because मैंने a में 2 डिक्लेयर करा है. अगर अब मैं जाके a equals to कर देता हूँ a b c d, and if I then try to do a console.log a, it will give me a b c d. And then if I go and change a to an object, and then if I do a console.log a, it will change to an object. So it basically has no connection कि what type of value am I assigning to a. जिस टाइम पे मैं जो टाइप ऑफ वैल्यू ए में असाइन करूंगा, ए का टाइप भी वही बन जाएगा. J's in JavaScript, basically what happens ना, what these variables are linked with memory locations. ओके, सो मान लीजिए जो मैंने 2 डिक्लेयर करा ये किसी मेमोरी लोकेशन पे है, तो मैंने जब वेरिएबल ए करा तो ए स्टार्ट्स पॉइंटिंग एट दैट मेमोरी लोकेशन. तो मैं ए में जो भी चेंज करूंगा उस टाइम पे it will affect that memory location. Now the moment I am changing a to abcd, a starts pointing to a different memory location. Now whatever kind of operation I am doing in a, it will affect that memory location of abcd. Okay, so that is how dynamically in typing way JavaScript works. So if I talk about the various types of data that JavaScript provides us, first is number. Number में it basically covers integer, float, double, long. It covers all of this. So 1, 2.5, 3.5, 35,000.05. These are all of number types. Okay. Then there comes the string type. Okay. Now JavaScript has no separate type as character. जो बाकी languages में people might be aware of कि there is something called a string and there is something called as a character. JavaScript में everything is considered inside string only. You can define string in three ways. You can either use a single quotes, or you can use a double quotes, and there is something called as a template literal. So template literal ऐसे backticks में होते हैं. So ये backticks को हम लोग बोलते हैं template literals, and इसका भी बहुत wide range of use है in JS. What kind of uses there are of template literals, we'll take a look at that also. So yeah, keep in mind there is something called as template literals which we denote with this backticks. आपको कीबोर्ड में backticks दिख जाएगा, टैब बटन के ऊपर होता है backticks. Then there is boolean type, true or false. And then JavaScript has these two special types, null and undefined. I'm coming to them what they are. Big int is basically something which is very large enough जो number cannot support. Okay. It's basically large values which is not supported by the number type. And then there are arrays and objects. Arrays are basically an array of elements which you have known from other languages. And if this is your first language that you are learning, arrays are basically a simple array of elements, a group of elements, which is basically I can do something as 1 2 3 4 5 6, something like that. And one of the good things in arrays in JavaScript is like that even in the languages that we're talking about in C and Java, the type of array was also like they can only contain the same type of values. In JavaScript it is not like that. आप array में you can take any kind of value. So if I do something as var a and I start giving values in array, so the first two elements I took as number 1 comma 2, my third element can be a string. Okay, so this is also how it works. So if I do a console.log a, so in my array I have 1 2 and abc. So the elements of the array can be of any type. Okay, And arrays basically in JavaScript are denoted in square brackets, square open brackets. Then there is objects. Okay, objects are denoted in double quotes, and they are basically key value pairs. They are basically key value pairs. Uh, Objects can be pretty detailed. We'll have again, arrays and objects have their own methods. They are their own prototypes in JavaScript, and we will learn more detailed about them. But objects can have nested objects inside them, and basically arrays are like a subtype of objects. Hmm. If I want to give you an example of an object, so let's something called as where person, and we can assign to person something as name as, let's say, Supratik, and then we'll give a comma, key separating, and then suppose I give city as Noida, and sorry, this needs to be a string type. So I'm assigning value. So my Supratik was not defined. I'm assigning a value. Yeah. So if I now do a console.log person, my object will be print. So the name of that object, the name key contains the value Supratik, and the city key contains the value Noida. And I can also access these keys of the person objects. How can I do that? Console.log. So person is the object, and if I want to access any key present in the object, I need to do a person dot, and then I will get all the keys. So person dot name. So person dot name will give me the value that is assigned in the key. So Pratik. Okay. If I do a console dot log person dot city, it will give me Noida. Okay. And if I do something, say console dot log person dot mmm, what do you think this will give us? I have no key as mmm. Will this give us an error? Let's check. No, it doesn't. It gives us undefined. Okay, so I talked about two types, right? Null and undefined, uh, which are two special types in JavaScript. So you see, I have not defined any key as mmm in the person object. So it's not yet defined. Hence, it is giving undefined. It's not giving null. I have not yet defined the key. Hence, it is giving undefined. If I do something as var b, okay, and I do console.log b, this gives me undefined. It doesn't give me null, it gives me undefined. Okay, so something which doesn't hold a value yet has undefined or is undefined, but something that has no value is null. So like if I do something as b equals to null, and then if I do console.log b, it's going to be null, because now I assigned no value to b. B is not undefined. Now I have assigned no value to b. So undefined is something which doesn't have a value yet. Null is something which has no value. Okay, that's the core difference between null and undefined. Loosely they are almost equal. Loosely, but if we compare them tightly, they are different because the type is different. Null, the type of null is an object, and the type of undefined is undefined. So if you do, we will see more about this type of and these operators in the next lesson. But if I just do a type of null, you see this will be an object, and if I do a type of undefined, if I do a type of undefined, this will be undefined. So null and undefined, and there is also a separate, there is one more interesting type or value in JavaScript, which is called as infinity and minus infinity. So that is not mathematically correct actually, and you should not use it that much if you do not require it. So there is something called as infinity in JavaScript. So this actually uh, denotes the positive maximum range in the number line, and there is minus infinity, which actually denotes the last, like the in the end of the negative section of the number line. So infinite and minus infinity. These are also reserved keywords uh, in that JavaScript provides us. So don't worry about null and undefined. We'll talk more. We will solve a lot of exercises of null and undefined, and that will also help you get a much more detailed idea into how JavaScript is handling null and how JavaScript is handling undefined. But for this lesson, these are the data types in JS, and I want you to create some arrays. I want you to create some objects, some keys, values inside objects. You can also create objects inside objects. So you can also do something as const person1 equals to, suppose I have a name which I am providing as Supratik, and then I have age which I'm providing as 25 or 26, and then I have another object inside this which is something I'm saying as address, and address is another object which has a key of city, suppose as Noida, I stay in Noida, and suppose let's say something called as pin code which is 201301, suppose something like this. And then if you do a console.log person1, you will get this person1 object printed which has another nested object of address inside it. So you can have this many nesting inside an object also. So these are about the data types in JavaScript. You can always go into the Google and you can learn more about these data types, what they are. In the next topic, we are going to cover different kinds of operators that JavaScript uses. There are arithmetic operators, there are various kinds of unary operators, what they are, we'll learn about them. We'll learn about conditional operators, we'll learn about ternary operators, um, and also we will touch a little bit on what where, let, and const does, how they are used, and how they are different from each other. So till then, take care of yourself. Thanks for listening to this video. Please like, share, and subscribe, and happy learning. Bye bye.